I'm Phil Hellmuth Jr., and there are two main components to working a successful bluff. The first, as we've already discussed, is your willingness to put your money into the middle with a hand that is not likely to hold up its showdown. Heart, baby! You need some heart! The second component to working a successful bluff is your opponent's ability to lay down their hand to your bet. In short, is that guy bluffable? Is that donkey bluffable? You know you don't want to bluff a calling station. There are a number of factors that can help you determine which opponents are more bluffable than others, not the least of which is their overall skill level. Eventually, you will need to try to bluff both more experienced players and less experienced players. But I would say that more experienced players can be bluffed because they understand that laying down a marginal hand may save them valuable chips they can put to better use later on. On the other hand, less experienced players are inherently less bluffable because they often don't look beyond the specific cards they're holding. They don't look at you. They're not paying attention to a lot of stuff. If less experienced players have top pair, they're most likely not going to fold, no matter how scary the board may be. Yeah, the flush hit. Yeah, the straight hit. I don't care. The less experienced players say just call. In a tournament situation, a player's psychology or risk tolerance is often also closely related to the stage of the tournament that they're in. In the early stages of a tournament, most players, including experienced opponents, are very difficult to bluff because the average stack is usually quite large in relation to the blinds. If everyone has started with 200 big blinds, then not many players are going to have to worry about going broke in the first or second or third or fourth level of the tournament. This makes bluffing in the early stages a less than optimal play. Things change as we get deeper into the tournament, and there's antes, more reason to bluff, and the average stack shrinks in comparison to the blind. With an average stack now at 50 or 60 big blinds, the pressure of going broke on a single hand is increased, and most players become more cautious about committing their chips to the pot without a big hand. This is especially true on the money bubble, where the majority of players are hoping just to make the money. What does this mean for you? Raising the money bubble, raising the money bubble, raising the money bubble. Raising the money bubble, baby. It's a much better time to bluff because your opponents are less likely to want to get involved in a big pot without a big hand. This brings us to a major difference between tournaments and cash games. Bluffing in tournaments is often easier than it is in cash games because in a tournament, once a player runs out of chips, they're out, they're gone, they're on the rail. In a cash game, even if a player goes broke on a hand, they can always reach into their pocket and rebuy and stay in the game. This means that in general, players are often less fearful of committing chips to the pot with marginal hands in the cash games than they are in the tournaments. The fear of going broke in cash games is also closely related to the size of the game. In a low-limit cash game where the buy-in is $100 or $200, players are more likely to risk their chips than they are in a big game where you might buy in for $5 or $10K.